We are officially in the thick of it with the NBA season. I think it's fair to say. Happy November. Happy Jacksonville Philly rivalry week.
I'm going. Wait, I
Yeah.
should start with that. I'm going. Yeah, I'm going
Oh,
tomorrow.
nice. Nice. My dad asked if he should go, and I said, well, actually, if you're an Eagles fan, you should go to that. You're probably really going to enjoy the results of the game.
Well, it's like I have two schools of thoughts of it. One is that the Eagles are just going to absolutely obliterate them
Yes.
because everyone on Jax is hurt. They just traded their left tackle. Like the defense, the secondary is non-existent currently. And so, yeah, in theory, the Eagles, who are coming off their biggest win of the season against Cincinnati last week,
Yeah.
where they finally looked like a full
Mhm.
competent football team, you should, in theory, at home deal with a very injured Jacksonville with a coach that's fighting for his life in a locker room that seems to have lost him. Shout out Dougie P, though, Super Bowl 2017 forever. But yeah, I don't know. This also feels like a classic Eagles trap game. Like the Eagles have been kind of bad this year too, like for large portions. I mean, I know they won 3 in a row, but it's like 2 of them are against Cleveland and the Giants, who aren't exactly, and that was the Deshaun Watson version of Cleveland. I may even give them a little more credit with Jameis now, but yeah.
What's a bummer for me is because the Jags were so bad, I was so very much looking forward to the NBA season to distract me from the bad Jags. And the 76ers are an absolute dumpster fire. So like it makes it a million times worse.
Yeah, I don't even want to get started on the Sixers right now.
Don't
Like
deserve to be
other
talked
than I will say this, because we're not doing a deep dive on the Sixers today. Joel Embiid is absolutely right about calling Marcus Haynes out. Marcus Haynes columns are garbage, and they've been garbage for years, and all the just ridiculous slander that he's thrown upon multiple Philly athletes. This isn't just an Embiid thing. Like Marcus Haynes has always just been the troll of Philly media, if you are. I got no problem with him calling out Marcus Haynes. But yeah, I hate that we're talking about injuries already. And I just am reminding everyone that this team is only caring about the playoffs at this point. Like, I'm not saying the regular season doesn't matter, but like, listen, man, it's November 1st. Or no, I guess technically it's November 2nd now. We're recording this on November 2nd.
We've had 4 games under the Sixers regime in this year. This is what, when we talked about Paul George coming to the team and how we were either excited or nervous or anything, the reservation I had was we have to deal with this exact conversation the whole season. And that's what I didn't want, because I know it's annoying as hell and it could potentially destroy a team before it even gets going. But here we are. And it is not fun.
The one thing that was funny the other night is, so Detroit came back, or Detroit was in Philly. And so obviously that's Tobias Harris's first game back.
Oh,
and
God.
I think to cut down on the booing, they put his tribute video and they put Paul Reed's tribute video in the same tribute video. And so which is hilarious, by the way, but that a way to cut down on it a little bit, because I don't think anybody in Philly's mad at B-ball Paul. Though, to be fair, like, again, I am the most frustrated person. I watched so much more Tobias Harris than I ever wanted to in my life over the past 5 years. The thing is, though, I don't really blame Tobias for it. I would have taken that contract too.
Oh, yeah.
I blame the Sixers' terrible front office for not realizing that Tobias Harris is the ultimate empty calories player, and then deciding that you pay him like he's a top 10 player in the NBA.
Yeah. Do you think he's triggered by being in the same video, like not having his own?
I think Tobias knows what it is. And again, like I said, there is a part of it that is unfair, because I do think Tobias is a great guy off the court. He never caused any problems locker room wise in Philly.
Oh,
it's not really his fault that the team overpaid him. Like, I can't be mad at taking the $200 million plus contract. Like,
you take the cash when it's on the table. Like, I get it, but
it's more of just like, the book was written on Tobias Harris so long ago. And so I feel bad that he's a casualty of the Sixers front office, because it is like, him stinking is a big part of them being held back in the playoffs too. But it's like, that's the front office's fault, not necessarily his fault.
On them for paying him. I mean, I wouldn't blame anybody for taking the money if it's thrown their way. But back to the generic league conversation stuff, which really should just be our description, I think. NBA podcast, generic NBA stuff.
A survey of the landscape, if you will.
NBA.com came out with some crazy stats in the first 10 days of the NBA season. Thought it was kind of fun. First one they talked about is the league as a whole has taken 41.8% of its shots from 3-point range, which is the highest rate in 3-point line history, really. And the first time it's been higher than 40%. The rate was 39.1 last season and was at 39.5 by the end of the season. So has even gone higher than that. It's no surprise. I think we talk about the 3-point ball becoming more and more of a thing. I mean, we saw even in the highlights that NBA had before I was watching this, there were some logo threes made during the Nets game. So like it doesn't surprise me. I feel like that's the way the league's going these days anyway. So
One of the early discussions, right, has been, or one of the early hot takes, if you will, is people are complaining that Anthony Edwards is taking too many threes early on. And
which I love his comment to that, but
yeah, F him.
yeah.
Basically, good response. And no, that shout out to our guy Dane Moore. It's been a guest on this podcast for asking that question. Gotta love
Mhm.
Ant, real blunt in his response.
Yep.
Um, yeah, I mean, that's definitely like there are people because the early ratings have been down, and there are people who are wondering, like, hey, when every team stylistically plays the same, is it a less watchable product? I don't fully agree with that because then people were, I forget what game it was they're citing. It was the Wolves, and I'm blanking on who it was who they played earlier in the year. But then I was like, yeah, but did you watch the game? Like everyone's complaining about Anthony Edwards taking all those shots. I was like, the game was awesome. Like, what do you mean? Like it was a competitive contest down all the way down the stretch. Like I don't know. I didn't get the feeling that it was an unwatchable product.
Well, that kind of comment, unwatchable product, kind of leads me to the next, or a one of the other stats that were in this article is the league has an average of 28.1 free throw attempts per 100 shots from the field, which is the highest free throw rate in the last 11 season. Last season produced the lowest free throw rate, surprisingly, in NBA history. So, it's like a correction in a way, but that definitely gives you a slower pace of a game and maybe
Yeah.
does kind of destroy some of the watchability factor like you were just talking about.
Well, they had the mandate last season too, after because they got rid of the fouls where you were jumping into your opponent, which
Yeah.
was ridiculous. Like that was a ridiculous foul that was getting called every time. It was offensive grifting.
Yeah.
I think that was great for the league to cut down on that. And I think they should be trying to cut down on fouls being called. Like, I don't go to an NBA game to watch a free throw contest. Like, that's not like it's a part of the game, obviously. I'm not saying don't call it. Like, I want it, I want it to be ref to fit fairly. But yeah, I don't think that it doesn't need to be as touchy as it is, or has been in the past few seasons. And I think last season was a step in the right direction in that regard. I hope it stays that way. I don't,
How funny would it be if free throws became like a how much are you willing to wager on the shot? Like you're down by 3, so you're willing to wager 4 points on it. But if you miss that shot, then your team loses 4 points. Now you're down by more. That'd be fun.
that sounds like a wonderful 2K arcade mode. That sounds great for that.
Oh my gosh. Okay, back to the stats. Now it gets a little more team specific. This one specifically for Denver. The Nuggets scored just 72 points on 97 possessions. That's 74.2 per 100 when Jokic is not on the floor. That's not good.
Yeah, the Nuggets might be cooked.
That's,
Early hot take. They might be cooked.
yeah, it's cooked.
Jokic is still the best player on the planet, but like they're already doing who was it the other night? Michael Porter Jr. did the whole Giannis thing. Did you hear his he's like, oh, if we don't win this year, they might trade us all. No one in Denver is saying that. What's going on there? Like, why are they preemptively blowing this squad up? The Russ numbers are bad though. Like, I don't want to keep dumping on Russ, but like they are horrible with Russell Westbrook on the floor.
And, that was, we saw the Clippers kind of move him to a bench role, which was also, I think, a little bit of a logjam situation between what they had there. But yeah, a little bit of that potentially following this way. Another one that we can hit before we get to our last one is Second Spectrum says the Knicks have scored 1.69 points per direct possession when Karl Anthony Towns has set a ball screen for Jalen Brunson, which is the best mark in the NBA at the moment. So early returns, at least on that very specific play for those two and the Knicks, is hella efficient.
Oh, because he's something to build off of. Like that's what you want to see. Like you knew this was going to take time to work Karl Anthony Towns into the lineup. and not just Towns too, with Bridges as well, like new faces. It's for as many of the same guys from last year coming back, even OG played half a season there. Part of it was injured, so yeah, but to have some early returns there, obviously the Knicks had a pretty rough first night against Boston. Boston also hit the NBA record, the NBA record for 3-pointers in a single game. But yeah, the Knicks are going to be fine.
So I have one more I want to throw in because I think it's worth mentioning. Teams that have a winning record, so above 500, there's only 3 of them in the East. So take that for what it is. Again, not a lot of games, but it's worth mentioning until last night, which totally kills my argument. One of those teams was the Bulls. The Bulls have had the league's biggest jump in both pace and assist rate. They gone from 28th in pace to first in the league for pace. They added 10 possessions per 48 minutes, and they've gone from 28th to 5th in assist rates. I know, and actually went from 29th to 2nd in 3-point rate. And I know there was another conversation that was about this with JJ Redick and the Lakers. Kind of nod to his coaching is the Lakers essentially have added almost 3 more possessions per game the way the Lakers are playing this style, which obviously when you have close games, 3 more possessions, even if they're just 2 points at that point, or even a free throw, like that can win you a lot more games. And we saw where the Lakers were last year. A few more games could get them potentially out of the play-in tournament. So there is a little bit of that conversation, but back to the Bulls. Yeah, they look like they have at least sort of started to figure something out.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to give them that much credit so far, but
Yeah.
I love seeing Lonzo Ball back on the floor.
Yep.
His early returns have been great. I do like the change in identity. I don't want to downplay that either. Like I like that they're getting out. I like that they're running.
Yep.
They have a few guys that I like. Like they're going to be in the play-in position to me. I don't think they're going to drop out of that. I think they're going to be around that 8, 9, 10 range. But they do have players I like. We talk about Kobe White, I feel like pretty often. Like he's a guy that I still think has a lot of potential.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look, Zach LaVine is still there and healthy. Like I know that that's the big question mark, but it's not like he's just going to be a net negative in the meantime. We'll see. We'll see if that ends up being kind of their, if they almost become the Pacers in that way, where like, the Pacers just got out and ran laps around everybody last season.
Worth mentioning, by the way, for Kobe White, in the 6 games this year, averaging higher than like a significantly higher in points per game. Assist is up, total rebounds is up, field goal percentage is up, 3-point percentage is up, effective PER. Like he's overall, we saw a big flash of it last year, and then the national kind of media saw it in the play-in tournament games.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're seeing it again, which is awesome to see and might kind of confirm this is what we can start to expect from him.
Yeah, he's a guy that should be a little more of a household name. And again, it's probably just been hampered by the lack of attention on Chicago. Not really his fault there. There's been a probably deserved lack of attention on Chicago. But I mean, now that we've got a few games in, most teams have played between 4. I mean, 4 is the low at this point. Most teams have played between 5, 6 games at this point. Some of the early hot starts, maybe not as surprising, like in the East, Boston's 5-1, defending champs. No, really a shock there. OKC's 5-0 to start the season. I mean, we can take a deeper dive in them at some point, but again, not really a surprise there, given the hype around them going into the season. But you talk about some of the others, Phoenix is 4-1, Golden State is 4-1. We talked a little about the Lakers last week. Lakers are 4-2.
Yep.
Probably maybe the most surprising though so far. How about Cleveland 6-0 right now? Top of the Eastern Conference. Early returns have been great so far for Kenny Atkinson. And maybe that's my fault because I feel like in the pros, because I have been I really liked Kenny Atkinson and the job he did in Brooklyn. That still was kind of a weird firing there when that happened. And then he went over to Golden State and obviously was a super successful assistant there. A huge part of them winning the title again in 2022. Where all the coaching changes and all the changes player-wise in the offseason, maybe that is on me a little bit for not selling Kenny Atkinson as being a big coaching upgrade there over JB Bickerstaff. Like, I think because it is, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, and it already looks like it is, and I think it'll be great. I just wonder, if we're down the line, and I know this is getting way ahead of ourselves, but if we're talking like coach of the year type awards, obviously the start that we're having, he'll be in that conversation. Now, my worry is if the Lakers even have some semi, decent season where they're not in the play-in tournament, I feel like national attention is going to be on JJ Redick and it won't get recognized as much.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with that because you're right. JJ being such a household name, the LeBron star power, it would be a fair turnaround that would look coaching based. It's not like
That's what
that roster
it'd
has
be Cavs.
changed
I
right
mean,
now.
but like I don't know how you argue. Like if Cavs are number one at the again, well, this
They
is gonna
have
be
Kenny Atkinson has to be the coach of the year
right.
if the Cavs are number 1. No, I completely agree with you. He
I
has
think
to.
even top three, they probably should be.
Yeah, if you're right there with Boston and, like, let's say the Knicks for
Knicks at that
we'll use
point.
them as who's
Yeah,
there. Yeah, I think you absolutely have to
yeah,
consider him as coach of the year just because they've been a playoff team for a
probably.
while now, but that it would have them looking like they take the next step, and it kind of is a little bit where they've changed the style up a little bit. Like Darius Garland, to go back to the increased threes, but like Darius Garland is taking more three-pointers a game, and that's not by accident. It feels like their off-ball movement has been better. And more importantly, I think it's justified. Like I've always been a big there's been a lot of trade Jared Allen
Mhm,
conversation. I
mhm.
really think Evan Mobley thrives more than Jared Allen than he doesn't. And I don't think we're giving Jared Allen enough credit on that front. The numbers, like I understand the desire to shake it up because the core has been disappointing, but like their numbers for the past few seasons on the court together have been good. Like it doesn't feel like that's the problem. My biggest question, the guy I'd be looking to move is Garland, but it feels like they've got Garland in a role that makes more sense now. And so, I mean, look, 6-0, you're not pumping the brakes. And maybe there's a little bit of that too, just mentally as well with Donovan Mitchell, with his contract getting signed in the offseason. That was a huge deal for them. And kind of the cloud looming over them is, everyone and their mom is saying, oh, he's just playing out the contract and leaving. And now it's like, no, you have a bona fide committal from your superstar player that probably lightens things up a bit as well.
That being said, the Cavs are the ninth team in NBA history to start the season 5-0 with an average point differential of at least 18 points per game. Six of the previous eight reached the finals, with four of those six winning the championship. For the most recent example, would be the Celtics last year.
Yeah, and I mean, look, you could start and be like, "Oh, their first 3 games, Toronto, Detroit, Washington, kind of soft," but it's all quality wins after that. Like you got the Knicks, you got the Lakers, who we just talked about, who they both beat, pretty convincingly. They beat the Magic, who we're going to talk about here in a little bit as well. Granted, down Banchero, but did exactly what you needed to do in that game. The other,
Do you think they would have won if Bankero's there?
I mean, I think it would have been closer.
Mhm.
I don't know. I'll give them. I mean, Cavs beat him in the playoff series last year. I think, though, I'm not going to deny the impact Paolo Banchero's been having.
That's what I was.
Um, Cavs are on their home floor too. Give them a little bit of benefit there. The other thing too, you got to feel good about if you're Cleveland. Max Strus hasn't played yet this season. Like he gave you pretty quality minutes last year. A guy who obviously we've seen in the past on Heat teams have big moments in the playoffs. He hasn't set foot on the floor this season because he's rehabbing his injury. So it looks, or again, early returns, 6 games. I don't want to jump off the cliff, but you have to like what you're seeing there, just even offensively, more than I did last year. And I think that gives you, like, look, you want to see early on, we talked about the Celtics and the Knicks and the Sixers forever, like with the Pacers, with the Magic, with the Cavs, I think we tried to argue. I think you and I have done a good job of arguing that all these teams are right there too. You want to see where those early separation is going to be. Credits Cleveland for getting off to a good start and giving themselves some early separation. You can't really be too upset about that. Out west, are you buying any of those? We talked Warriors on your book report a little bit last week.
I think I do buy a little bit of the Warriors just because like it's hard to hate on Steph. It's weird to feel weird that the Suns are like that. We're like surprised that the Suns are there with the star power on that team. Um, no, I mean really just looking down the list, and again now we start getting into the 3-2 teams. So again, I still don't necessarily want to talk about them too much, but like the first team that sticks out to me as a surprise would be Rockets at 5. But again, they're 3-2.
Yeah.
So they're not that's not really a thing to talk about yet. But um Now, Thunder, Suns, Warriors, Lakers, like, doesn't surprise me too much. Warriors, Lakers being the two teams we were worried about, but at least in these first 5, 6 games have shown us their approach is a little bit different, or in the Warriors case, some of the other younger guys or bench role players are stepping into the position and doing good right now. So, no, nothing surprises me necessarily out in the West. More it's actually surprising more the teams that are doing bad, in my opinion, in both sides. Again, only a few games, but like, we back out east, we talked about Bucks, we talked about 76ers. Like that's again few games, but still not great returns.
But the Bucks returns are way more concerning than the Sixers returns are. The Sixers returns you can chalk up to your two best players arguably aren't
Yeah,
on the floor right now. The Bucks returns, I don't know what the excuse is there, but dude, they had a night. Giannis last night was even, and the rest of the team was minus 30. Do you know how like improbable that is?
it's wild. I will say to add to that, like Nuggets would be on that list too, like we talked about. They're 2 and 3. Again, towards the back end of the West, but it's so tight, it is so few games, like it's whatever.
I said I don't want to have a hot take sample size off 6 games right away. I think the Nuggets are less cooked because they'll make the playoffs. I just like it's kind of disappointing how they followed up their title, given the fact too that you have probably the best player in the world
Yeah.
right now.
Mhm.
The Bucks are cooked. The Bucks are completely cooked. Like I don't know what is going on there. Doc stinks. Their depth got old quick. Giannis is going to be increasingly unhappy as they lose games. Like I think the Bucks are fried, dude. I think big changes are on tap there. And again, you feel a little less upset about it because you have a title. Like no matter what the Giannis era, Chris Middleton era, but like man, Drew for Dame looks miserable right now. Like it just hasn't worked.
What's the oh, this meme. This is the meme that I think 76ers fans probably look at Bucks fans with the with the with the Doc coaching stuff. They just look at
Oh, well, dude, it's so obvious that it's not even just it can't even just be the Sixers. It's the Clippers
everyone.
fans, it's the national NBA. Bro, they had Doc Rivers in a Kamala Harris. We got to huddle up and run the fourth quarter play. So we brought in Doc Rivers, and I'm like, fam, that's not who you want to bring in to run your fourth quarter. Like, oh, wait a minute. I was like, you're gonna fumble the bag.
Yeah, like, wait, what's happening here? What's ain't
Kamala's
gonna
about to
work?
blow a 3-state lead. That's crazy. Oh my
Oh,
goodness.
dude. Yeah, and we'll get into Bucks a little bit too. I'm pretty sure I have them in my Ballin and Vaughn. So
Our buddy Sam Albuquerque has the Suns winning the title this year, by the way. Like he hit me with that in an instant DM, and I was like, whoa. I was like, where? And I get why. And you know what? Early returns haven't been bad, but
well, and that's the thing is like everyone sleeps on the Suns because they had a bad time, but like look at them on paper. Look at those names. That's 3 huge names. They should be like it's embarrassing for them that they're not talked about like that. Like they
I
don't
know
have that respect, and they should because of just the names themselves.
if their depth is all right, that's just my thing is the
I know.
depth. Though I'll tell you what, how about Ryan Dunn? Ryan Dunn's had a great start to the season down there. I don't think anybody saw that coming. He had 16 against the Clippers the other night.
Mhm.
Nurkic has been solid. I don't think he's necessarily in that. Like, I think Nurkic is limited, but he's not like, I don't. He's solid. He does what they need to do. I mean, yeah, like you don't have Bradley Beal playing the other night. So that's the thing too, is you're gonna get him back at some
Mhm.
point. I mean, if Book and Durant are healthy, you're gonna have a chance to hang in every game. I like Royce O'Neal is solid off the bench. Hopefully Plumlee can give you some quality minutes. Like the depth is a little better than it was last year. I just still I'm worried about the depth come playoff time, which sounds weird because that's when your rotation shrink, but it's like, it's got to be. I don't know if Katie and Book are enough to get over the top of the Western Conference.
If Book brings the defensive intensity that we saw in the Olympics, there could be something there, I think.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I certainly love the way Book played in the Olympics. Like, I think he's the underrated hero of the
Yeah.
Olympics. Honestly, like you said it in that tweet. Like somebody's got to sacrifice. Book was the guy that sacrificed. He really played good defense. I mean,
Mhm.
that would be a positive wrinkle if he just, Book's always been a decent enough defender. But if he is, you're right. If he's locked in with that intensity,
Yeah.
It would be good to see. It would certainly be good to see. Welcome, everybody, to the Drive and Dish NBA podcast. My name is Kevin Rafuse. Joining me, as always, my co-host, Justin Cousart.
Great dub, Suns, and for my parlayers, better luck next time.
Hey, listen, my guy KD was saying if you're losing money on me, that's a you problem, not a me problem.
Yeah,
Because what, he had 0 points in the fourth quarter, but they won the game. So it's like,
yep.
how can you really be upset about that? And that's what KD was saying. Like,
He
yo,
got
stop
the
being
call.
mad at me. We won the game.
He got the call. He got the call. Someone said, "Hey, you're over under for points in this game." Is this say we need you to chill out?
I mean, it's just like the lines are blurred and like not NBA, but like I saw the St. Louis Blues, a real life NHL team, like tweeting the other day that Missouri voters need to pass legalized sports betting. And I'm like, yo, we are losing the plot so bad here
Yeah.
right now. Like, what are we doing? And I am not an anti-gambling person at all. I think it should be legal. I don't think that having back market gambling is good for anybody. Like, I think put it out in the open, have it be regulated. You know, I'm very libertarian, if you will, on that issue. But like, man, you should have to go find it. I don't think we should be advertising for it the way we do. Like, man, everybody knows that. Everybody knows about FanDuel and DraftKings and whatever the app is down in Florida, Hard Rock or whatever.
I might see more, and I know we're not a swing state, but I might see more sports betting commercials than I see politic ads right now.
Good for you. I know, because I'll tell you what. Listen, Action News, the main local news station up here in Pennsylvania and Philly, dude, they sold out of inventory like 3 weeks ago. Fully out of inventory. There's none left.
We might have talked about this, and we don't have to go into depth about the specific commercial, but my mom called me. She was really upset about one that apparently is very graphic to the point that the news station runs a thing before it saying like, hey, this is about to get uncomfortable. You can change the channel.
Yeah, it's gross, and we're not going to do that politically, and not gross in the way that I think the people who made it are. I'm saying it's gross in the way that you're politicizing this, and I think it's really nasty that you're targeting an extremely small minority of people in this country who want to live their lives and be free from government interference, which is really ironic because that's what the one party claims to be, the party of small government. But I'm not going to get Justin in trouble on this podcast. You can tweet me if you want my views. Leave us a review on the Drive and Dish NBA podcast on iTunes. We will read them on the show. If you're not an Apple user, wherever you find your podcast, you can find us.
My views, by the way, before we get going, are to the Clippers. How do you let the Suns drop almost 40 in the third quarter, too? That's like wild, by the way.
Yeah, it's not a good quarter.
It's a very good quarter. But you can find us on YouTube. Just search Drive and Dish NBA podcast on YouTube. You can see a video version of the podcast. Obviously, at the end of the episodes, we try to fit in an Immaculate Grid if we got time. And so you can watch the video versions of that. And subscribe. That way you get notifications when new episodes are coming out.
Now, a word from our sponsors.
So the Orlando Magic are cooked. Paolo's out for the year.
4 to 6 weeks is the year now.
It's a bummer, man, because our friend Neil went to the game where he dropped the 50 bomb, and I was like, oh damn, like no, this is it. This is time. And of course, now we've got a little bit of a setback with the injury. Yeah, like you said, 4 to 6 weeks. We only missed one game of him per se in the season. That was the Cleveland game. He got hurt the game before, and which was only one game removed from the 50 bomb, which he had against the Pacers, where he shot 16 for 26, 3 from 9 from 3, and had 15 free throws out of 22 attempts, which actually is not the greatest percentage, but like, damn, that's a lot of free throws.
Yeah, at half he had 37, and so you immediately, like, your antenna goes up and you go, yo, is Paolo gonna like challenge 81? Like, I still, it's hard for me to see someone getting to 100, but I do wonder in our lifetime, because we've had a multiple 70s recently. I mean, last year Donovan Joel had 70.
Three ball, you get someone that's like shooting a 70% three ball in a game and is like hot, like, dude.
Yeah. I mean, it's certain. Well, the crazy part about Kobe's game is like Kobe had like 29 at half, I think, and then ended with 81. Like, just torched them all over the second half.
It is worth mentioning Paolo was 1 assist away from a triple double in the game, and it's like, come on, you couldn't give him one more assist. You couldn't get one more.
No,
you couldn't fit in one more.
I mean, That's what's been disappointing though, is because Paolo Banchero at 22 years old is like he was already taking the superstar leap last year. He was fully like, we're welcome to
In it.
Paolo's world this year.
Yeah.
I mean, 29 points right now, 8 rebounds, 5.6 assists. He's just been bullying his way to the basket at will. Like he looks like he's bulked up. He just is getting to his spots and he's been super efficient from it. He's been everything the Magic have needed in that number one guy. And a big reason why that you and I are so bullish on them taking the leap this year. Yeah, and I think that's the most disappointing thing, right? Is like they're off to such a good start. Now you're 3-3 with the loss the other night. 2 in a row. The loss against the Bulls is when he got hurt as well. But for a team, like we said, that's really trying to, make some noise this year, who, bringing in Kentavious Caldwell-Pope with their young core that's now here, been building for a few years. Like it looks like they're ready to take that. And like, look, this is a huge blow for them. Like he's going to be out 4 to 6 weeks. The timeline is indefinite, but that's what the team is kind of hinting at right now. I mean,
Which, by the way, only missed a total of 12 games in the first 2 years. Like, not an injured player for the most part. So they'd probably have him back right around mid-December, so right before Christmas, which would be nice. I did kind of like the leadership kind of message that he had for the team, that he said to, I forget which reporter it was. I should have been able to quote him, but essentially saying it's an opportunity for everybody to come together and step up while I'm out. And so, sending a clear message as somebody who should be the leader of this team and probably will be for a lot of years to come, to be like, look, just because I'm out doesn't mean we slip. Like, you guys step up, get in there, challenge the team to pick up the slack while you're out. I think I like that message a lot.
definitely. I mean, it's what you want to see from, again, your top guy. And the challenge, honestly, it's going to be offensively, as you would expect it. Defensively, I mean, they're built on being a pretty solid defensive team. And like Banchero's a good defender, but he's not a great defender. Like, I think they'll be able to make that element up. It's the offense for sure. And I mean, a lot of that pressure naturally is going to go to Franz Wagner. He had 29 against Brooklyn the other night. So there have been, flashes of offensive brilliance. He's going to be relied on to be their number one guy. No doubt about it. I mean, Jalen Suggs is another guy who you're naturally just going to lean on a little more offensively. Like, what he does defensively, being a perimeter terror. He looks to facilitate a lot, as he should, as their main guard. But I think they're going to expect him to probably take a higher shot volume. I mean, the other guy that just is a natural pick to take more shots is Wendell Carter Jr. I think maybe they, try to work a little more in the interior with him. He's a guy who can stretch a little bit as well, but I get a feeling that they try to go to him a little more there.
He played. The other thing that's worth mentioning is Paolo was playing a ton of minutes. I mean, I know he's young, so he could do it, but 182.2 minutes this season. To put it in perspective, LeBron James, who has an entire extra game over him, played 204 minutes. So, 20-ish minutes more. So, yeah, I mean, like, Paolo's playing a good chunk of minutes every game. So you do have a lot of game to cover up for the next month and a half.
Well, and one of the ways that you would imagine they try to do that is with Jonathan Isaac, right? But that's where it is always just kind of a risk. Like when Banchero's healthy and eating all those minutes, like it really allows you to pick and choose your spots with Jonathan Isaac. And like, look, I know he's supposed to be fully healthy right now, but is Jonathan Isaac ever fully healthy? Unfortunately, like you want him to be able to be elite in those minutes and pick and choose his spots. And now you do. You may have to just play him a little bit more here, which again, if he's fully healthy, then that's great. I think he's more than up to the task. Like I have not jumped off Jonathan Isaac Island by any means when he's healthy.
But this is how that downward potential spiral starts, is you need players to step in, and then those players step in, and then they get hurt, and now you're looking for minutes, and then others, relied on players start playing more minutes, and now they get hurt, and next thing you know, we're in no man's land at that point. So, you hope they can get through it. I think they can. I like Paolo's messaging to the team. I think it's a good message. It's a bummer he's out. Like you said, I think it was starting to feel like it was primed for Paolo's year, essentially, the come out year, if you will. For those wondering, in the 5 games, averaged 29 points, 8.8 rebounds, 5.6 assists. And like we said, minutes wise, he was playing about 36 and a half.
Yeah. I mean, the other guy that you hope would who you hope maybe could thrive in this opportunity and take a big leap is Anthony Black, a guy who we briefly talked about. He's in a position, again, won't do what Paulo's doing. He's a guard, but, a guy who would take on a little more of the offensive share, a guy that, the Magic still have high hopes for. First round pick last year. He's shown flashes of that this year. So I would love to see him be able to take those next steps. If he could do that, I mean, that would be the kind of development. And I mean, in a dream scenario for the Magic, again, easier said than done. But man, if you can like thrive and figure out some rotations and combinations of what works when Paolo's out, when he comes back, that's going to allow you to have so much more versatility come playoff time. And, that's something where the Magic are really looking to take that leap this year is come playoff time. So, we'll see if they're able to do that once he's back. But yeah, I mean, no doubt about it. It's going to be a tough go. I mean, even their next three are in Dallas, in Oklahoma City, and in Indy. So, not exactly getting too much of a break there, unfortunately. All right, who's balling, who's falling? Our NBA version of the stock market. We always like to start with the good before the bad. So Justin, I'll start with you this week. Who's balling?
So Ballin for me is back to Anthony Edwards and the 3-point conversation. Like we talked about, the reporter did ask him what Anthony Edwards would say to someone who says you're shooting too many threes. And well, Anthony Edwards' response is something we shouldn't say in this podcast because we're a family-friendly podcast.
It's so easy to make. What, you can't say the abbreviated version of it?
AFM.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, the kids don't know what that means.
I mean, they might know what that means. I don't know.
I mean, well, that's on. Listen, man, that's on the parents. That ain't on me. No, I mean, look, I do. I think it's a dumb conversation. If Ant's going to take the three, like, I get it, and I'm still one of those guys where it's like, look, I'm taking the three in the mid range every single time. Like, I think Ant's going to pick and choose his spots. Like, this is his year of really dominating the offense. Like, he's going to be, especially with Cat gone, like, probably asked to do more on that front than ever. Like, I don't know.
It is worth mentioning in comparison. So last season he was averaging about 6.5 attempts a game and making 2.5 of them. Now he is up to 13 attempts a game and he's making just shy of 6 a game. So he's at 43%. I mean, that's still an effective 3-point percentage. So you take that because that is significantly up from the year before where he was at 35% from three. So as long as that percentage stays good, you're not going to hear a peep out of me. Like, if you stay right hovering around 40, a little lower, a little higher in games, like, good with me. That's going to average out fine. So I don't have that hate. Now, if you start getting back down to like a 35%, which I think still statistically is good for a positive impact in games. I forget what the cutoff was specifically, but that's when we start having to like, okay, maybe we chill out here,
Yeah, of course. And if that moment comes, that moment comes. But I'm just not really going to worry about it too much yet. All right, balling for me. Since it's November.
Well, hold on. I would actually just bring up my only concern. Again, small sample size. And shooting a 64% free throw percentage. And that's I mean, down from 83 last season. So
I don't know. Yeah, but that's small sample size. I'm not worried about it. You're saying his rate of getting to the rim, or when he gets fouled, he's missing his free throws?
Missing free throws.
I'm not worried about that. That'll even out. Like,
I hope you're right, because that's, I don't know, man.
Yeah, if he shoots 63% for the season, then yes, that becomes a massive narrative if Anthony Edwards starts missing free throws like that.
Yeah,
but
we need to have that conversation, but
that'll settle itself out. I'm not worried about that one just quite yet.
I agree.
Balling for me this week, in honor of Halloween a few days ago, is Kawhi Leonard. So the Clippers had a candy corn grabbing contest. So they literally had a bowl of candy corn, and they took all their players and they said, give me a handful, grab as many as you can, and we're going to put it off in the jar to the side, right? So, like, some typical answers here, like Ivica Zubats, right? Big guy for sure. 96 pieces of candy corn, right?
Okay.
Guess how many Kawhi Leonard had?
Oh my God.
And Kawhi, like, we know his whole thing is like he's the claw, right? He's got huge hands. Just even for some, like, because Zubac's a big guy. Norm Powell. So let's say he's a guard he had a bigger one. I think Norm Powell here had 105. So Zubac's had 96. Norm Powell had 105.
So Kawhi had to have like 160.
Yeah, Kawhi had 154. He smoked this contest, just absolutely crushed everyone. It's just absurd watching him claw this amount of candy corn up and just, put it in the jar on the side. Like, easy dub for Kawhi.
Well, I mean, obviously they knew he was going to win. There's no way someone came up with that contest in the Clipper organization. Sure. There's no way that they didn't know he was going to get it. Now, we talked about this off mic. I would wonder what like Boban's would be, because they even have the commercial with him holding the freaking goldfish. Like, I wonder what that would look like.
He would be up there for sure, no doubt about it.
Had to be, right? Yeah. All right. So then my Fallin is going to go to the Bucks, who we kind of briefly talked about, which we can just reiterate and hit them over the head with how bad they are. The Bucks are the only team with 4 double-digit losses this season. Pretty gross. I mean, that's really all you got to say, right? They're 1-4. It's not great. It's not great. We saw it. It seems to be slipping more than even we thought, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, Giannis planted the seeds already by saying they're going to trade me if they don't win this season, which it's like no one in Milwaukee was saying that. Ask out. You won the title already. It's fine. I don't think this team is going anywhere fast. Like, I'm not ready to like knock them out of the play-in game or something like that. I don't think it's going to be that drastic, but yeah, I don't think this team is a threat to win the Eastern Conference.
To continue the narrative, this is actually kind of surprising. They are they are the 39th team in NBA history to have 4 double-digit losses in their first 5 games. That's surprisingly high in my head for some reason. And only 6, which is 16% of those teams, went on to even reach the playoffs. The last being the 2004-2005 Nuggets, who also began the season 1-4 and finished as the number 7 seed. In the West, they lost their first round series in 5 games. So
yeah, I don't think it's going to get quite that bleak, but man, if it does, man, we're having a like existential. I think you got to blow it up at that point.
I'm okay with it being that bad, honestly.
Yeah,
I'm okay with it being that bad. At what point does Doc get fired? Is really what I want to know. I'm taking the over
than later, honestly. Like
Christmas.
Oh man, if they're still this bad, I mean, dude, their only win right now is over the Sixers without PG and Embiid. If they keep losing by double digits and the way it, like, dude, that their last loss, I think it was against Indy, they lost to the other night. I want to check it real quick. Yeah, no, not Indy. Memphis. It was the Memphis game. They lost 122-99. And I need to pull up this box score to fully emphasize how ridiculous it is. Yeah, Giannis went even in this game, right? He had 37 points, 11 rebounds, and 4 assists. The next lowest person on the starting lineup was Taurean Prince, Tayshaun Prince, shout out to him, a legend. Taurean Prince went -22. Gary Trent Jr. was -23. Dame was -29. Brook Lopez was -35. You got to go all the way down to Wright coming off the bench at +10 to even get back to a positive at that point. Like,
that's terrible.
It is terrible. Like, DeLon Wright is your only guy going positive in this game. Like, and credit to Giannis. Like, that's an incredible stat line. He took 22 shots. He hit 17 of them. Like, he had one of the most efficient games you could think of. And they got absolutely smoked in this game. It wasn't close. Like, that is like, I don't think you can get many more alarm bells going off than that. And I know Chris Middleton is out. Like, that should be a pretty big boost to them in theory. But man, that is really rough to see if you're a Milwaukee fan.
Yep. So I just took the Fallin as another chance to dunk on the Bucks.
All right. Yeah, don't text Jeremy Ratliff this week. He may not be too thrilled with you. All right. My Fallin this week, is the Pelicans, who just, last week our main topic was DeJounte Murray breaking his hand and being out for a little bit. Now it just keeps getting worse injury wise. Herb Jones is out 2 to 4 weeks with a right shoulder strain and a partial tear in his rotator cuff. And CJ McCollum is out 2 to 3 weeks with a right ab strain. You know, McCollum is a guy we talked about last week who would kind of slide into that role with Murray out. Now he's out.
Yeah.
I mean, the instant obvious is that this is a lot more that you're going to be putting on Brandon Ingram and Zion Williamson, but
It's the Zion and Ingram show. Let's go.
I mean, we're at a point where it's like, yo, I'm looking at the Pelicans, like 5 best players, and I think 3 of them are out right now.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, yeah.
not
Oh,
great,
yeah.
man. Like, they're staying afloat's going to be tough. Like, you know, and again, 2 to 3 weeks, not the end of the world. They really just gotta like play basic almost in a way. Like, I feel like they need to just try to simplify it as much as possible. Like, you can't really run the offense you were trying to run at the beginning of the season. I mean, Jordan Hawkins is also missing time right now. Daniel Tice is missing time right now. Like, they got crushed by the Warriors the other night.
Well, and it stinks for them because they do have like coming up, right? They got Hawks, Pelicans. They got Hawks, Blazers, Cavs, Magic, Nets, Thunder. So a decent mix of good and bad. But you know, the midseason tournament stuff is also looming. For them, it would a few of those games would start November 15th against the Nuggets. Then they play the Lakers. Then they've got Mavs in another NBA Cup stage, and the Warriors 2 days later. So, like, you know, you got in terms of important games, depending on how you feel about the in-season tournament, like you got some fun ones that you would want to win, but if you're missing 3 of your top scorers, like it could be a problem. And Nuggets, Mavs, Warriors, and then Grizzlies in the cups in the group stage are not easy this year. So you would love to be at full strength for that.
Oh, their offense has just been rough too. Like, it's crazy. That game against the Warriors, they got smoked the other night. They had a 20-point lead at one point. Like, it's just been it's a lot of what we saw last year, right? It was at the end of the game, they just weren't executing and they were getting killed in fourth quarters. And you know, maybe part of that's on coaching a little bit. Maybe you look at Willie Green a little bit there, but I don't know. I don't think there's any really coaching you can do right now. It's like the other part of me is like, oh, maybe the bench will get better, but what do you do there? How do you make the bench better with all these injuries? Like,
yeah, you just need to be healthy at that point. So you just got to find the rotations, find some guys that are willing to take advantage of the moment, you know?
Yeah. I mean, Jose Alvarado is going to be a guy who gets a lot of boost there. He'll start at point for them. You know, when Hawkins comes back, that's a big opportunity for him. But yeah, it's going to be a very rough go of it for the Pelicans in the meantime. Just absolutely miserable start to the season, no doubt.
Yep. No, I completely agree.
All right, so let's play some Immaculate Grid, shall we?
I am down for that. It's going to be an easy one.
Yeah, we're going to fly through this already. All right. So, of course, you can always watch the Immaculate Grids on YouTube. Just search Driving Dish NBA podcast. You can watch the full version of the pod there. But if you want to be a little more visual with it, that's the best way to go. For our podcast listeners, our rows this week, or our columns this week, excuse me. From left to right, you got the Timberwolves. You've got 10,000 career rebounds, and you got 5 assists per game per season. Our rows from top to bottom, we've got the Sixers, the Warriors, and 20 points a game per season. Justin, you're right. This is going to be extremely easy. I guess, where do you want to start, dude? I mean, we have all the time. I mean, I don't even have to really think that hard on any of these, I think.
No, and I'm cheating, so we can say we can't use this one if you don't want to, but I know one that works for Minnesota and 76ers that would be very low. Alexei Shved. Remember?
Oh, yeah, he does.
Yeah.
Alexei Shved definitely does work.
Because, like, I think he played like 17 games or something like that for the 76ers.
How did you cheat on that?
Because I know it from a previous grid that we did.
Oh, fair.
Like, we've used it before, which is why I was saying that. Like, I know it's some weird stat where he played like 20 games for the 76ers or something.
The obvious Sixers and Timberwolves, I mean, there's a few. Jimmy Butler is one, and then in that trade was Dario and Covington. So that's my 3 right there.
Did
Um,
did Isaiah Cannon, because he plays everywhere, ever end up on the Timberwolves?
I don't think he did, but somebody that I think we should use there who I think is going to be really low because he had an all-time random 1 Sixers game when he just harassed James Harden up and down the floor, left and right, when Harden was still playing for Houston. How
Beverly?
about Corey Brewer?
Oh, Corey Brewer. Oh
Corey
my
Brewer.
god.
He had a 10-day. He played a while with the Wolves, but
Yeah,
he had that 10-day with us. Like he had 1 or 2
okay.
10 days with us, played a few games. Definitely works.
I dig it. I'm down with Corey Brewer if you wanna do Corey.
Yeah, let's do that.
Corey Brewer, baby.
Nice.
Point seven.
0.7%. He looks like he has a kimono on in his pick
Yeah,
there.
what is or it's like a or even just a polo. Like,
Yeah,
usually
that's
they
not
have
a shirt jersey. Yeah.
normally they're wearing a jersey or something. All right. So Timberwolves, Warriors, you got Wiggins, you got D'Angelo Russell. I think Dario also works.
Dario does work. Yeah, just fresher this season
Yeah,
works. Dario works
yeah.
there.
Blah, 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 blah.
I know.
I
I'm trying
think
to.
that's at like the most obvious ones off the rip.
I'm trying to think of like the We Believe Warriors and if any of them ever played for the Wolves,
Mm,
or anybody in kind of that in between. I don't remember if Monte Ellis played for the Wolves or not towards the end.
oh no. Ooh.
Um,
Um. All right.
Dario, I think, will be the lowest out of the three you've named so far.
Yeah.
Um,
Did
Even with him there now, I still think it'll be pretty low.
what
Yeah.
about Belizia? Is that how you say his name? He was a
Oh
big
my God,
Timberwolves guy.
Nemanja Bjelica. Wow.
I don't know if he ever went to the Warriors, but I feel like he did.
Um,
Was he on the championship team? One of
I
them.
don't think he might have been. I don't think he played any minutes there if he was, but he might. Man, that does feel right. He was on the Wolves for sure. Like that part, I'm definitely. He
Oh
started
yeah,
his
no,
career there.
he was there with the Wolves for a while. Yeah.
Because he got drafted like a while ago. He got drafted back in like I feel like 2012 or 2011. He was overseas for quite a bit, and then I remember it was a big deal when they brought him over, and he was pretty good. I don't remember why like what happened with him leaving the NBA. Because he
Yeah.
briefly left. I thought well, I don't remember if he anyway, it doesn't matter. He might be playing in Europe now. I thought he was like still getting NBA 1 year deals, but I feel like he played for the Warriors too. I don't remember if it was on the team that won the title, but it
It was
could have
recent.
been.
It was recent. I
Yeah,
feel
that
like
feels right. It'll be low for sure because he was in a bench role.
how do you even spell B-E
I
J?
don't, dude. I don't know at all. I think it's like, oh my god, because I don't want to Google it because it'll give it away. It's like try NEM.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
okay. It's
there
the
it
first
is.
one. Wow. Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
BJE. I was doing
Yeah.
BEJ. Okay, okay. BJELICIA. Interesting. Yeah, okay, it works. 1%.
1%.
I'm
Okay.
surprised
All
that's
right.
higher than Corey Brewer. Um,
Nemanja Bjelica.
Interesting. All right, so
You know
20
what? He was on the title team. That's literally the first thing when you see on Basketball Reference.
good
And
for him.
2022 NBA champ.
I thought he was on one of those teams. All right, well, then let's see.
I'm trying to think of some like random Timberwolves 20 that wasn't like because Jimmy was there for half a season, but it was obvious.
Jimmy would be obvious.
Pat's obvious, Ant's obvious, Kevin Garnett is obvious.
Oh, yeah.
What about like
Would Wiggins never did 20 with the Warriors. He got like 18 the 1 year, but I think
oh
he
great, it has to be with no, it has to be the Wolves.
yeah, I think it has to be with the Wolves.
Did he get it with the Wolves? I
No,
don't
I doubt he
know.
got it with the Wolves. There's no way he got it with the Wolves. Oh, D'Angelo Russell?
Oh
Do you
man,
think he
dude,
got one?
that's so tough.
Russell would be interesting.
He had a bigger role for sure, but oh man. I don't know if he was like doing what he let me come back to that. Because like in Brooklyn for sure, I would have said he had 20. And I think he's
no.
right on the line in Minnesota. Like man, we'll come back to that.
Like
I'm thinking of
an
like Latrell
OJ,
Sprewell too.
like an OJ Mayo
Oh
didn't
my
do
god,
it.
I wish.
'Cause OJ Mayo had this, what was it, the 60 bomb or the 70 bomb or something?
I'm trying to remember. OJ Mayo, I say this every time he comes up, but he was like the most dynamic high school prospect, like
Yeah.
outside of LeBron that I've ever seen.
OJ Mayo, Rubio
Wiggins would
would
be
have done it.
high if he did
Rubio
it for
would have done it.
Minnesota. I don't think OJ Mayo did it for an entire season.
I don't think so either. I just know he had that high point game, so there was a chance. And Rubio wouldn't have had it. Wait, Mike Conley?
I think it was too late in his career. I don't think he had
Mm,
20. Wiggins or who was I would go D'Lo over anybody that you've named so far if we're going for low. I think D'Lo would be just close enough, but I think like one of his first 2 years, he might have had enough of the role in the offense still.
you wanna go, Russell?
I'm okay guessing it. Yeah. I don't feel great about it, but I feel good enough about it. Sick.
Wow,
All right.
point 6.
Nice.
Okay.
I gotta go back and check that now.
Interesting. All right. So for the podcast listeners, what we got left is 10,000 rebounds for the career for 76ers, for the Warriors, and then 20 plus points
Mhm.
per game. And then from the 5+ assists per game season, we got to run it back again. 76ers, Warriors, and 20 plus points per game. There's definitely some options we got here. So
D'Lo only broke 20 one time in Minnesota. He did it the very first season
wow.
in actually it was because he got traded. It was the year he was in Golden State for a little bit. They had signed him in the offseason and then he got traded to Minnesota. He had 23 that season in Golden State, and then he had 21.7 that year when he finished
Wow.
out in Minnesota. He was at 19 the following year, so really close. 18 the following year, and he's kind of been around that like 18 mark every year except this year so far. His career high actually was that Golden State year. The year in Brooklyn that everybody remembers too. He had 21.1.
Interesting. All
I mean
right.
10,000 rebounds for both the Sixers and the Warriors. There's a bunch. I mean Wilt works for both.
Andre
Um,
Drummond and Dwight Howard work, we know.
yeah, Andre Drummond and Dwight Howard work for the Sixers. I mean Moses Malone works for the Sixers. Moses Malone also I think works for the Warriors as well. I said Wilt definitely works for both. Um,
Do you wanna do Dwight Howard at 10,000 rebounds, 20 plus points per game in a season? I bet that's pretty low.
oh, yeah, I would do that there. I mean, there's so many options there that I
That's
think
why
there's
I'm
a bunch
saying it.
that are low.
There's so many options, and there's probably only one like Zach Randolph or something is gonna be, like, the only other that's, like, right on the border of 10,000. But I
Yeah,
feel like because Dwight Howard might have a chance to be used at 76ers, it's gonna be even lower than as low as you can get down here. 'Cause I
yeah,
do forget how much of an offensive powerhouse Dwight Howard was.
yeah. Dwight Howard at the beginning of his career had slept on. He's one of like the NBA 75 disrespect for Dwight Howard is
Yeah,
gonna be one of those that kind
yeah,
of like that stuck with me a little bit. That was crazy.
yeah. There you go. Dwight Howard worked. That was 2%. Okay. Do you wanna go Drummond for 76ers 10,000 then?
Yeah, I mean,
Or
he's probably the lowest of I mean, everybody else is gonna
yeah.
be chalky. I don't think the only other one that I might think for Sixers that would be kind of low, and actually, you know what? No, we should save him for the Warriors. I think Chris Webber has 10,000 rebounds, maybe.
Oh, that'd be
Um,
crazy.
he would be low for the Sixers, but he would be lower for the Warriors, I think. But I'm not, I don't know. I'm 50-50 on that one.
Okay. Let me get back to it. Um,
Drummond only works for the Sixers. He obviously doesn't work for the Warriors. Um, I'd be all right doing Drum there.
for the Sixers or
Yeah,
doing
yeah,
it
yeah.
for
Everybody else for the Sixers is really obvious, I think. Like,
yeah,
you
that's
know,
my worry.
Moses Malone is a gimme. Mutombo's a gimme.
4% Drummond, that's good. We can
Uh,
work off that.
what about did Dikembe did he play for the Warriors for a little bit?
Mm, oh, dude, you're asking NBA history at that point.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm not. Um the only one I feel 100% safe about is Wilt at this point. Like
Yeah,
even the recent guys didn't really, like the DeAndre Jordans and the Tyson Chandlers of the world and none of them played in Golden State.
no,
David Lee had nowhere near 10K. I don't think a guy like Bogut had anything near 10K.
and Drummond
Um,
and Green's probably not there.
who?
Draymond, I don't think.
I thought you meant for Jamichael for a second. I'm like,
No, no,
Jamichael? I was like,
no.
good for you, buddy.
Did DeAndre Jordan ever end up there? I don't think
No,
he
and
did.
that's nah.
It's another one of those like one-offs.
We may just have to go Wilt. I mean, Wilt's I don't feel comfortable enough about Chris Webber, but Wilt is obvious. Like,
Chamberlain. Let's just Oh,
yeah,
Jesus.
75. Good lord.
Oh my lord. We need to freshen up on 10,000 rebounders for the Warriors. Holy hell.
Yeah, I'm really curious because it's not Dre. I wonder if Chris Webber would have worked. Let me look Chris Webber up.
76ers, 5 assists a game.
5 is so low, man. Like,
I know.
I feel like you can go with a lot of like guards. I mean, not just the guards, but like I feel like you get a lot of people who have it by accident.
I feel like Markelle Fultz.
Oh man, I don't know if he played enough.
I know.
I mean, Embiid probably had it at some point.
Probably has it. Ben Simmons definitely has it.
Did you have to do it with the team? Yeah, I think you would do it with the team.
You have to do it with the team.
Because Markelle would have maybe had it in Orlando for sure.
Oh, no. Listen. I guess it wouldn't count. I was gonna say if we could do it, I would have picked Alfred Payton because
I know. Yeah, no,
I would have freaking.
He never played for us. No, definitely works though. I think
Michael Carter Williams.
Michael Carter Williams does definitely work. But no, speaking right in that vein, dude, I feel like we got to give him some love. Our guy, Tony Roten, OG process, team.
Tony Roten. Oh, listen, my God.
Tony embraced it. Tony loved being a Sixer. I will never have anything bad to say about Tony Roten.
There's no way this is above a 0.0, like a point something.
No, if it's above 1%.
There you go.
Shout out to my guy, Tony.
Where did he go after us? Did he go to did he go Memphis or did he go to the Nuggets?
No, he started with Memphis. We got him from Memphis.
Started with Memphis. Okay.
I don't know. I'm curious. Tony Roten. He did not go anywhere after us. He was done after 15, 16. He played in 2012, 2013. He played 35 games with Memphis. He had the 3 seasons with us, and then that was it. 14, 15 was his high for everything. Because he had such a high usage. He had 16.9 points. He had 16.9, 5.2 assists. Like my guy was getting minutes.
Not to change the subject, but in our 20 points per game column for 5 assists, I kind of want to go Lakers just because we have Russell in a Lakers jersey, Howard in a Lakers jersey. So like we just go like Anthony Davis and get the freaking Lakers trifecta there.
Yeah, and Davis would be a little more interesting because he'd be a big man. I mean, I feel like he has to have done it for the Lakers. They run,
especially now. Well, I guess it doesn't count.
Do we have? I say that though, and then I'm like, wait a minute, does he have to? He's a big. I'm like,
he's not. He's a big, but I feel like he's more of one of the passing bigs like we've had in the past. Like obviously Embiid and Jokic would work here too.
I don't think Embiid is a big passing guy though either. Like I think Embiid might work there, but like, I mean, Jokic is obvious, but like Jokic may have broken our impression on how many assists that centers get usually.
That's fair.
I think Embiid would actually be a good. I mean, it would break the Lakers thing, but Embiid 20 a game and 5 assists per season would actually be really good because I don't think anybody on earth thinks of Embiid as an assist guy.
All right, we can do Embiid then.
I'm trying to like think of like one of the Gasol brothers did. Yeah, 0.3. Hell yeah.
That's crazy that it's that low.
I don't think he did it more than like once or twice.
So Draymond probably works here, I would assume.
Dre would be sneaky good because it would be low.
Wait, okay, hold on. He went to the Wizards.
Jordan Poole?
Do you think he has 5 a game in the 2 years with him?
You know, he should in theory because he's a guard, but I'm also like, doesn't he? I'm like Jordan Poole, the ultimate green light.
I know.
And I don't do it. Do you have to do it with the team?
I think so. Does not need to be with this.
Oh, yeah. You should definitely do Jordan Poole then because I think he'll have it with the Wizards just off the usage.
Even better, Chris Paul.
Oh, but that's obvious, though. He's point guard.
But do you think people are going to think Chris Paul 5 assists per game Warriors?
I think people are going to think Chris Paul anything to do with assists.
Okay.
I think it'll be like low. I'm not saying it won't be low, but I think Jordan Poole will be lower than Chris Paul will be there. As crazy as that.
You want to go Jordan Poole?
Yeah, he'll have had it with the Wizards for sure. Wait, does he count? No, he had 5 assists per game. Did we misunderstand the rules? Oh, that sucks if we misunderstand the rules. Jordan Poole definitely has 5 assists per game per season.
It
Dude.
definitely said we didn't have to be with the team. It definitely says when paired with a non-team cat does not need to be with the same season.
Wait, when paired with the team. Oh, dude, it does. It does. It has to be achieved with that team in a single season. Okay. That's 6. Jordan Poole had 6 last year, so he did have it. He had it with the Wizards. All right. Well, that's brutal. Answers that would have worked. Yeah, Chris Paul would have worked. I mean, dude, there's so many obvious ones. Like Steph works, Trey works. I don't know.
Just Clay?
I don't know if Clay does. I'd have been really.
I guess I can look. Hold on, let me go pull it up.
No, he doesn't, dude. Not at all. Clay's highest assist per season was 2.9.
37.
That's crazy. I didn't think it'd be that wild. Dre,
Steph, Chris Paul, Dre, Steph.
Yeah, Dre works.
Kevin Durant, KD. We didn't say him. Right. Dre would work a bunch. Steph, Jared.
I mean, there's a bunch from back in the day. Like Baron Davis probably would have worked.
Barrett Davis,
Rick Barry. Oh, that's annoying.
Freewell, Tim Hardaway, Garland, Chris Mullen, Sleepy Floyd, World Be Free.
That's what I mean. Like there are a bunch of I would have never associated World Be Free with being a Warrior.
I know, isn't that crazy?
Yeah, I just think of him as a Sixer because he's just been in the community so much too. After,
wow,
oh, that sucks. I mean, like I take a little solace in knowing that I take solace too in knowing that Jordan Poole does have 6 assists per game per season, and that we didn't just totally butcher it. He was a tick above 4 every season with the Warriors. All right, you want to scroll down to the most common answers?
Yeah.
All right, Sixers, Timberwolves, Jimmy Butler, Sixers 10K rebounds, Moses Malone. That's surprising. I guess I'm not with Wilt at the Warriors, but like that's the only reason I'm surprised there. Iverson, Sixers 5 assists per game per season. Wolves and Warriors, Andrew Wiggins, Warriors and 10K rebounds, Wilt Chamberlain, Warriors 5 assists per game per season, Steph Curry. Kevin Garnett, Wolves 20 a game per season, 10K rebounds and 20 a game. Shaq, 10 or 20 a game and 5 assists per season. LeBron only surprised me a little. I thought Russ would be there just because of the triple doubles. Like I thought Russ would be number 1 there. Either way, LeBron's LeBron. I think we all know that, but a little bit surprising there. Are you all right?
I'm upset.
I was going to say, you are so defeated right now. I can't, come on. Bring it home with me. I'm upset too, but like, you got to carry the end of this podcast with me.
You got to rebound. We never even mentioned Iverson, which is kind of funny.
Because it's so obvious.
I know.
That's the thing. Is it's like
I was trying to look up the other because it said there were 6 options for 10K rebounders with the Warriors.
Yeah, let me look.
It didn't show the other reason I was disappointed is the one I was using to do that search filter you have to pay for. So
10,000 rebounds.
Players, yeah. I mean, I guess I could look it up too, but yeah.
Yeah, we can go back and look at that later. I never know quite what the teams are, but 6 is more than I expected. Our answers: Corey Brewer for Sixers and Timberwolves, Andre Drummond for Sixers 10K rebounds, Tony Roten, Sixers 5 assists per game per season, Nemanja Bjelica for Warriors and Timberwolves, Wilt Chamberlain, Warriors 10K rebounds per game, Warriors 5 assists per game. We blanked because we did not read the rules, but unfortunately, Jordan Poole only worked because he did it with the Wizards. D'Angelo Russell, Timberwolves 20 points a game per season. Dwight Howard, 20 points per game per season, 10K rebounds, and Joel Embiid 20 per game and 5 assists per game per season. Joel only did 5 assists per game last year, by the way. So we flew close to the sun there with that one for sure. He only broke 5 last year for the first time.
I was convinced he had more, but that's interesting.
Last year makes sense though, with that being the year without like the number 3 necessarily. So like was him and Maxey for the majority of the year. So yeah, it kind of makes sense there a little bit. Thank you everybody for listening to this episode of the Drive and Dish NBA podcast. Appreciate you guys as always. Leave us a review on iTunes, good or bad. I'll read them on the podcast. If you're not an Apple user, Google Play Store, Spreaker, Spotify, TuneIn, Amazon Music, Player FM, anywhere you get your podcasts, you can find us.
And we're on YouTube. Search Drive and Dish NBA podcast on YouTube. You can watch a video version of us fail at the Immaculate Grid, or you can just watch the whole show in general. And when you subscribe, you get notifications when new episodes are coming out.